In today's show, we look ahead to a 5-game road trip for the Blazers, plus a preview of the Rip City Remix as they start their G League season. Welcome to Locked On Blazers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Trailblazers, your daily Portland Trailblazers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, world? It's your past first point guard and Trailblazers reporter, Mike Richmond. You are listening to another episode of Locked On Blazers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, available wherever you get podcasts and also on YouTube. Thanks for making this show your first listen, coming at you each and every weekday, Monday through Friday. So make it a part of your daily routine. Make it your first listen and tell your friends to do the same. It's Locked On Blazers, your team every day. In today's show, previews galore. We're looking ahead to the Blazers' 5-game road swing that starts on Wednesday evening in Oklahoma City, headed for 2 in Houston, and then on the way home, they'll hit Memphis and Indianapolis. We'll talk about a challenging 5-game road swing. And then later in the program, friend of the show, friend of mine, Reggie Walker of the Rip City Remix is going to join me, and we're going to talk about the Blazers minor league affiliate, the Rip City Remix, what they've been like so far to begin the year, as their home opener is this weekend in Portland. We'll talk about kind of what they've looked like, what they will look like, how the G League works, and how the Blazers utilize it as well, as talking game night stuff in the Chiles Center for the Remix. But let's do what we do. I guess this isn't doing what we do. Let's talk this 5-game road trip, because it's a tough one. This is a challenge. The Blazers are sitting on a 3-game winning streak. They had a 3-game winning streak last November, but they haven't won 4 games in a row since way back in October 2022 when they started the season 4-0. That 4th win against the eventual champion Denver Nuggets on a night where Anthony Simons went nuts in the second quarter, and he finished with 29. Damian Lillard had 31. He got 20 from Jeremy Grant, and the Blazers improved to 4-0 on the young season. Things eventually went a little haywire there on a team that only won 33 games, but they started hot, and they haven't won a 4th game in a row. They didn't, for the remainder of that season, they didn't have a 4-game winning streak. All of last year, they didn't have a 4-game winning streak. And now the Blazers, winners of 3 straight, are staring down a chance for their first 4-game winning streak in 2 years. A little over 2 years calendar-wise. But it ain't easy. Starts on the road trip, a 5-gamer in Oklahoma City on Wednesday night. If there is some advantage in this game against OKC, it's that they're on a second night of a back-to-back, and because of fake Western Conference-ness of the San Antonio Spurs, this game starts late. 8:30 tip time, local tip time in San Antonio, because the game is on TNT. It's a nationally televised game. I'm recording this before that game tips off on Tuesday evening, but so Oklahoma City is going to start a game less than 24 hours prior to their next game, which is pretty rare in the NBA. You don't see that type of tight turnaround. Obviously, it's not a very long trip from San Antonio to Oklahoma City, but still, like, you have to travel after the game and then play a game less than 24 hours later. It is a tight turn for OKC, but like, the Thunder are just really stinking good. They're really good. Obviously, they beat the Blazers earlier this year in kind of avalanche level third quarter when they went small. And here's the thing about the Thunder: they don't go small now. They are small. Chet Holmgren is out. Isaiah Hartenstein's out. So they're playing incredibly small. If they do have a weakness, it's that they're not super big, but also one of their strengths is that they play to this identity of being really small and swarming, and all of their wings are super strong. It is I think for a lot of teams, it would be a challenge. For them, it's almost like it's a unique advantage. It's different though, right? Like, they lost to the Mavs, and the Mavs played some traditional centers and in Lively and Gafford. But OKC is a team that probably can survive this more than most. They're the number 1 defense in the league. They have the best net rating in the league. I'm recording this during Celtics Cavs. So like, as I'm recording this, the Celtics have a lead. So maybe that's the best team in the NBA, the defending champs. But certainly OKC is one of the, if they're not the best team in the league, they're one of the very best teams in the NBA. You have an MVP candidate. You've got an identity. I think this would be a fun test for the Blazers. I'm really interested to see what it's like for Shaedon Sharpe. I want to see him have to try to score against Lou Dort. He'll get a little bit of Alex Caruso treatment. They'll switch a little bit, so he'll get a little bit of everybody the way they play defense. But Lou Dort's going to get the primary assignment on Shea. Dort is a very, very physical defender. He's a very good defender. I think this is, coming off back-to-back 30-point games, a really fun test for a young player in Shaedon Sharpe. I'm excited to watch. Excited to watch that one. Some updates from the Blazers, from Blazerland, in terms of health. Anthony Simons is listed as questionable for this game. He had been out, but he has been upgraded to questionable. Chauncey Billups told reporters at practice on Monday that the Blazers, that neither Simons or DeAndre Ayton did much in practice. When asked, he said not much, but that their work will be on the side. Basically, it's like they're still working their way back in, so they're going to just like try to get right, and they're not going to be involved in like the team going live and trying to slowing things down as they reacclimate. Their work will be done on the side, and if they're ready to go, they're ready to go without practice. You don't practice that much in the NBA anyways, so missing one is not a requisite that you get back on the practice floor before playing. But DeAndre Ayton, so Anthony Simons listed as questionable with an illness. We'll see what his participation level is and how much he's able to play if he does play. And then DeAndre Ayton is listed as doubtful. Ayton was listed as doubtful against the Hawks and eventually was ruled out. And then they sent out an update saying like he's got a deep bruise in his right index finger, and more updates will come. So like I would be somewhat surprised if Ayton plays based on the same designation he had in Sunday's game, still listed as doubtful, and the fact that the Blazers said like more updates to come later. I would assume that Ayton will not play Wednesday, and I think he's questionable. It's like a true coin toss. The way the designation works, doubtful means 25% likely to play. Questionable means 50% likely to play. In actuality, that is not what the designations mean the way NBA teams use them. But conceivably, the Blazers could have some of their parts back in action. I think, the OKC stop on this trip is the fascinating beginning to this, right? Like it's the okay, you're going to get tested, but this whole trip is tough. So OKC, the best defensive team in the league, best net rating in the league. Then they play back-to-back Friday and Saturday against the Rockets. Later this week, I'll have a big show on looking ahead to those two games with a friend of the program, Jackson Gatlin of Locked On Rockets. But the Rockets are number 3 heading into Tuesday's games. They're number 3 in the league on defense. They have the 5th best net rating. They're an elite defensive team that has been really good, albeit like an average-ish offense. On Monday, so they play Friday, Saturday, and then they travel and then we'll be in Memphis on Monday for their 3rd and 4th nights against Memphis, who beat them by 45. But like Memphis is hooping. They're 7th in offense. They're 5th on defense. The 6th best net rating in the league. Top 10 on offense, top 10 on defense is the sign of a really good team. That is the mark of very, very good teams. So like you're going on the road, Oklahoma City, Houston twice, Memphis. The Blazers are playing their best basketball of the season right now. I don't have these high expectations on them where I view this trip as like a proving ground, but it's certainly very challenging. And if they were to come out with some success out of this trip, like if they say they split those 4 games, that'll tell you how good this team is. That if you want to see one podcaster become a believer, I think it would be something like that. But it's like I'm not going to freak out if they lose. It is what it is. This is a very challenging trip, and I think this in some ways could be a sobering trip, but it also could be like the trip that makes you think like, yep, they've got some stuff. So I'm excited. They close it. I'm excited to watch this game. Quality basketball games against good teams. The Western Conference is so freaking good. They close the trip on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving in Indianapolis. The Pacers are really beat up right now. We'll see how healthy they are by the time that game comes around in a week. But that's a team that is struggling and has a bunch of injuries. So, but again, playing the worst team in Game 5 of a week-long road trip is like that's not what you want. That's just a long time away from a long time out on the road, and it's a tough one. Then the Blazers obviously don't play on, maybe not obviously, the Blazers don't play on Thanksgiving, and then they'll be back Friday in Portland for a game against the Kings in the in-season tournaments. That's what's ahead for the Blazers. Obviously have you covered for all things Oklahoma City after that game, but I want to shift gears a little bit in the second segment. I want to bring on Reggie Walker, friend of the program. We'll talk all things Rip City Remix. Join me and Reggie in that second segment, won't ya? But first, I want to tell you that today's show is brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sports book that wants you to tackle the NFL action, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, you can view play-by-play, and so much more, all on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, joining me now, friend of the program, Reggie Walker, the director of marketing and operations for the Rip City Remix, a G League legend himself. If you know Portland Hoops, you know Reggie. If you don't know Portland Hoops, you don't know Reggie. You better get familiar. Reggie, you're here because the Rip City Remix are playing their home opener this freaking weekend. It's finally here. Before we get into how fun it is to attend a Rip City Remix game, which it is indeed fun to attend, you can buy fruit, apparently. Everyone's excited about it. Yeah. But what should we expect from the Remix this year? They're 0-3 to begin the season. What stands out to you about those first 3 games?
I think our pace is like the number one thing that stands out. It's pretty crazy how fast we play. There's multiple possessions a game where like the shot clock doesn't even get below 20. We're like up the court, bomb a 3. We just play really, really fast. I think part of the reason is we have a bunch of guys that can shoot. And we play like oftentimes like 4 guards and like a hybrid big. So it's just a lot of like up tempo, get the ball, off a make or a miss and just get up and go. I think that's probably the number one thing that stands out so far.
Yeah, I will just say I haven't watched them yet. The games are available on YouTube, so you can go if you want to check your Remix and get your minor league fix in and kind of see the Blazers, particularly two-way guys, get some action. You can go check them out there. They're archived on YouTube, but the box scores have big numbers in them. It's like they're losing and they're scoring 127. Based on my research coming into this, the Remix are indeed leading the G League in pace through the first few games. And they're averaging a league high 49.3 threes a night. They're taking 50 threes a game. This is a run and gun type of thing. It was pitched to me because the Remix have a new coach this year. Sergey Oliva, who's Blazers assistant GM, is now the dual role head coaching the Remix. Is that it was kind of going to be this like strategy incubator thing? Is that what we're seeing? Are we testing? Are the Remix testing out the boundaries of how fast you can play in the G League?
It appears that way for sure. I think our personnel leads to it, but yeah, I think testing some boundaries. The personnel leads to it, and it's fun to watch and like coach is like a high energy guy. So I think it's like catered to his just like overall demeanor with the kind of the way we're playing. But yeah, it's super fun to watch.
Okay. What about the two-way guys that are down there? Cause I think like the G League is confusing for people. Cause I think people think every player on the G League is like a Blazer, but they're kind of not. it's not a true like one-to-one minor league affiliate like baseball, but right. Taze Moore is on a two-way contract. Justin Minaya is on a two-way contract. Bryce McGowan's on a two-way contract. These guys are Blazers affiliated minor leaguers is probably the best way to say it. They can move freely between the big club and the G League team. What have you seen from, let's start with Taze. What you seen from my man Taze?
No, that's a great way to put it. And like, I think we saw that last year too, like with the Blazers in particular. We had like 8 guys that played for the Remix and played for the Blazers, during the season, which I'm sure there'll be some fluid movement, as like injuries happen and things, happen for just amongst both clubs. But like, yeah, having the two-way guys is a luxury. Not every G League team will have all 3 two-way guys, like for a certain game. Maybe you'll have 1, maybe you'll have all 3. You could end up with none. And then you have a roster of 10. If you have injuries, like maybe you're down to like 7 or 8 guys. So it is a super fluid league. Like Taze in particular, if you haven't seen him and he hasn't played for the Blazers yet this season, he did get a call up at the end of last season. He's like a nuclear athlete, like one of the best. If he is an NBA player by definition. He's one of the he's a 1%er of the 1%er in terms of athleticism. It's pretty insane what he can do, especially because he's had like 3 different surgeries on the same leg. It's like, I don't know how he got more athletic after these surgeries. Left-handed, like 6'5", strong, like long, kind of positionless. Like he is our quasi point guard for the Remix. I think in an NBA game, he's kind of like a jack of all trades, like guard, long enough to guard wings and switch, but super high flyer, shoots a lot of threes. tough, just like a fun player to like watch and root for. And he's leading our team in scoring so far for the first 3 games.
Yeah, he's averaging 21, 8, and 7 through 3 games in the G
Yeah.
League. 21 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists. Like the dude, he's always been like, even if you just look back at his days with Dallas in the G League, like he's a box score monster. Like the dude fills it up. Is he like, I know he's playing point guard. Could he play point guard in the pros? Like, does he have enough of the sort of playmaking chops to be to take that step? Because I think they don't really have that emergency point guard necessarily on the roster.
I think that's what he's trying to prove. And I think that's
Okay.
like exactly what the G League, what the remix is created for, is like for a player just like him to be able to come in and figure out if he does have that capability. It's similar to like how I would say Ryan Repair was used last year with the remix. I think he came in as like a defensive oriented. I don't think they thought he was a shooter when he entered the NBA. He had the green light with the remix. I mean, that's like why we exist is to be an incubator for players like him. And I think he got a lot of confidence, a lot of reps. And now you're seeing the fruits of those labors like for the Trailblazers this season. So
his best skill as a rookie, Ryan Rupert, was shooting, right? And I don't think that was at all the book on him. It was like, well, he's a defender and maybe a point guard, and it turns out he was like a shooting wing. It's like he probably discovered that in some ways with the remix.
Exactly. So yeah, to back to Taze, it's like hopefully a similar trajectory where he gains some confidence, gets some reps with the remix, and then either whether it's later this season or next season, like he is a contributor to the parent, to the Trailblazers.
Yeah. I think on the opposite end of that spectrum is someone like Justin Minaya, who is probably better in the NBA because of what he does than he is like in terms of like box score stuff with the remix. How do you judge a guy like him? Because what he does really well is that he competes really hard. But it's like, that's maybe not like the gaudy G League stuff that gets you a call up necessarily.
Right. I think a player like him, he is like a steady, like presence. He kind of is a jack of all trades. Like, what position is he? I mean, he's a guard wing. I think he does have a little bit more freedom, especially like offensively with the remix than he would with the Blazers, just because he's playing more minutes, probably has the ball in his hands a little bit more, probably asked to take on a little bit more of a scoring load. At least that's what he did for a lot for us last year. And he is, a little older, did the full college career, has experience playing with with the national team. I think you're right. A guy like him, he's really good at blending in, and maybe not his doesn't have the gaudy numbers, but his presence is calming. And as long as he's with the remix, I mean, he'll be a starter for us, until he gets.
I thought the best we ever saw Minaya was in Summer League this year. Like, I think he clearly was when he was with the Blazers in July in Vegas. Like, that was the best I've seen him play without a doubt. He was like, he might have been better than Ryan Rupert in Summer League. It's a week in Vegas, so it's like a weird way to judge people. But I thought he was pretty good. We haven't seen a ton of Bryce McGowan's. I guess we saw him get to the free throw line a million times in Vegas, but what has he been like in the very early stage of the G League season?
Bryce has been awesome. He's scored a ton. I think he's taking on some like lead primary ball handler responsibilities. Again, we kind of play like Taze is like our point guard, but I think we kind of like allow everybody to bring it up. And I think Bryce has shown he's capable of doing that. Shoots threes. Had an awesome dunk last night. I think he'll be one of those where you like, oh, whoa, like kind of came out of nowhere to like dunk on a guy, or at least like his athleticism will pop a couple times a game where you're like, whoa. He is still super young. I think he is like, again, a perfect player for the remix, where he has some NBA pedigree. I think a lot of people in front offices across the league like consider him an NBA talent and an NBA player. And that's what the G League is like meant for, is those guys that just haven't really had the opportunity. It hasn't quite worked out. Like, you can go prove it in the G League, and like for him in particular with the remix, and then he gets his opportunity. I think we coveted him as a franchise. Like, as soon as we got him, he became a two-way player. So we had his rights. So I think he is someone that the Blazers do have a plan for and like. And I think we're again, like, we're fortunate to have had him for our 3 games, and hopefully we have him for the rest of the season. Assuming everybody stays healthy and everything with the Blazers.
Yeah, Bryce has been on the Blazers active list a couple times already this year due to some injuries and situations. Like he's been on the bench. He hasn't made his debut, but he's there and dressed out and in the locker room and everything. Like they value. I will say the two-way guys are usually in the arena. If you're in the locker room after the game, they're like getting a workout in and sitting at their locker in the Moda Center, but they're like, Bryce has been on the bench. It's so clearly, I think that kind of gives you a sense of his maybe prioritization is the right way to say that. Sure. I have been to a Remix game. I want to ask you about what it's like to go to, because I bet I'm going to just go out on a limb here. I bet it's going to be more fun to attend in season 2 than it was in season 1 when you guys had built a freaking professional basketball team in 9.5 months. Let's talk about that in the third segment. Join us there, won't you? First, I want to tell you that today's show is brought to you by Prize Picks, the best place to get real money sports action with over 10 million members and billions of dollars with a B in awarded winnings. Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long with Prize Picks. On Prize Picks, it's just you versus the stat projections. No sharks, no field, no nothing. Prize Picks sets the stat projections for players, and you pick more or less than those stat projections, and you can win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. But Prize Picks also invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. So download the app today and use the code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Download that app today. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. Still a pass versus point guard. Still Mike Richmond. Still chatting here with Reggie Walker of the Rip City Remix. Reggie's a chucker. He's playing on the wing. He's getting shots up. He likes to pretend like he plays the right way, but if he's in the game, he's not gonna turn down shots.
I might pick you up full court though. I do like to do that. Yeah.
he's got a little Ryan Rupert in him. So I want to ask you sort of a little bit about the structure of the G League, because it still remains confusing to me. I'm doing my best, Reggie, but it remains confusing to me. I think in the wintertime, there is nothing better in my mind than to go inside somewhere warm and watch basketball. That is the most calming thing you can do in the wintertime here in beautiful Portland, Oregon.
I was on that.
Me and you've been hiding in gyms for closing in on 15 years together across this fine city. What is, give me the short sell, give me the elevator pitch on why I'm going to enjoy a Rip City Remix game.
It's affordable. It's easy. Parking's easy. Entry's easy. There's no bad seats, and it's intimate. You can hear the players talking to each other. You can hear the players talking to the referees. You can hear what's going on in the huddle, the sneakers like squeaking on the floor. Like where we play at the Child Center in North Portland on the campus of University of Portland. It's like an old nostalgic building, and it like lends to just like a cool feel. Super family friendly. We have like $5 kids tickets, kids zone. A beer garden where we sell $7 Rip City Remix IPAs, which is pretty cool. It's just an intimate atmosphere. And if you're like, I know most of your listeners are like, like sicko hoop fans who just like can't get enough of it. Yeah. It is just an intimate place to watch a game. If you want to like watch it from like an evaluation lens, like what better place to see, even if you're in the 15th row, like you're right there. You can sit feet on the floor, like courtside, literally feet on the hardwood for $100. And like see everybody up close, how big their hands are, how big their feet are, how they move, all that kind of stuff. And our game presentation has improved from year 1 to year 2. Like we're just more fun. And I think we just have a little bit more runway under our belt to be able to try.
Was I giving you too much? Was 9.5 months maybe an exaggeration? How long do you think it took you to launch a team?
We had like 4 or 5 months. The identity launched June 26th, 2023. Our first game was November 17th, 2023. So yeah, it was a pretty quick turnaround, like lots of work to get it done. But our goal was to become operational as a franchise. That was our goal in the first year, and we, checked that off the list. So now we're on to bigger and better things, trying to make things better.
Yeah, I attended the games against the G League Ignite because I wanted to scout, I guess, a dying brand of basketball. But like I sat in the 6th row in the corner with a friend, and we had incredible seats, incredible sight lines, and we're watching, I don't know, I think there was on the remix that night was maybe 4 dudes who played in the NBA plus 2 guys who were drafted in the lottery, plus some other NBA dudes who are on the Ignite. Like, I don't think you just don't get a closer look at that level of basketball. The G League is not the NBA, but it's this is a pro league. Like it's a high level. It's pretty high level basketball.
No, it is. You're right. Like you look at our starters. Like last night we played, and we had our 3 two-way guys who started. Like by definition, they're NBA players. And then we had like Alex Reese, who played in an NBA game this season and scored for the Oklahoma City Thunder, like one of the best teams in the NBA. Like we have James Bouknight on our roster, who was a lottery pick. Like and every G League team has that level of guy. I think it even blew me away. Like once I started to get immersed in everything, like, I mean, you got first team All-Americans, McDonald's All-Americans. Like if you were a college hoop head, like a lot of the guys you're like, what happened to that guy? He's probably in the G League. And there are really strong leagues in Europe that have a lot of like, the next tier that's maybe just outside the NBA, but these guys that don't want to do that or live that life abroad, like, and they're on the fringe of getting that NBA chance, like they are in the G League. So it is a really high level of play for sure.
Yeah, if you're not going to watch Fenerbahce in the EuroLeague, which includes Wade Baldwin Jr. and Skylar Mays for my real Blazer heads out there,
yeah, there you go.
I think the G League is the remix is a pretty good stop for you on that, because game nights are fun. I mentioned you could buy some fruit. You can go buy yourself a hand fruit. Shout out to Hand Fruit Nation. Not my creation, but shout out to the good people that have proliferated that community.
Definitely.
How does the G League season work, Reggie? I every time I look up stats for the G League, I get confused because can you just explain it to me how it works?
Yep. Okay, so the NBA Emirates Cup, which I think we are contractually obligated to call it that. Similar model to that, right? Where there's a cup within the season, and in the NBA, all of those games count towards the final 82, which I think makes sense. They didn't want to rock the boat, move away from how the record books are made and all that kind of thing. In the G League, they went like a totally different approach. So there's basically 2 seasons within the 50-game G League schedule. The first part of the schedule, until the cup winner is crowned, is 1 season. So you're basically playing games to get seeded. Everybody goes to Orlando and plays in what they call the Showcase Cup. It probably has a sponsor that I should know that I don't. And based off how you do in those, I think it's like 30, maybe less than that. I think it's 18 games based on how your schedule is for those. You get seeded. And then we crown a champion in Orlando that is like the first half of the season cup champion. Then we come back right after the cup. The cup is in mid-December. Right after Christmas, we start clean slate. Everybody's record's 0-0. And we play it's a 32 game schedule. And what's crazy about that is it's such a small amount of games. Every game matters. So by the end of the season, the playoff standings are like in the NBA. This happens sometimes where it's like you could be the 4 seed or you could be the 6 seed or the 7 seed. In the G League, because there's so many less games, like you lose 2 games at the end of the year, like you go from being in 5th in lock, maybe even hosting a playoff game, to like totally out. So the schedule resets in like late December, and we play those games as like the regular season schedule until we get to the end of March, and then the playoffs go they're quick, from April 1st basically to April 15th. Our season concludes, we crown a champion before the NBA playoffs start. So
right, because it allows two-way guys, if they're good enough, to get converted to an NBA contract and play in the playoffs, because two-way guys cannot play in the postseason in the NBA without a conversion. So they allow you basically a 1 weekend window to make a decision if you want to bring your Tajay Morris and your Justin Minayas onto the team to make the playoffs. But it allows some breathing room for that. Yep. I know that part. I know that it wraps up. I know it starts about the same time and it wraps up about the same time, but I always get confused. I will say this, shout out to Blazers PR. Whenever someone gets called up from the G League, from the remix, they do a combined stat line. They give you all your games. They don't give you split stats. I hate the split stats. It's confusing. They'll be like, wow, Ryan Rupert's only shooting 1 of 11 from 3. I'm like, he's played in 19 games. He's taken more than 11 threes. Like, get out of here.
Yep.
So I always get confused looking at box scores. Luckily, I didn't have to do it. The remix this weekend, right? We get 2 games this weekend. Is that our home opener for us?
Yep, home opener Friday, November 22nd, and then we play again. It's opening weekend. We play Sunday, November 24th. All of our weekend games and holiday games, like days when there's like we play Black Friday, we play MLK Day. All of those games are afternoon tip times, typically 3 p.m. Sometimes they'll be a little earlier. So we do make it like, Mike, you have a daughter, like it's post nap time, bring her out. And then our weekday games typically 6 or 6:30 p.m. And our games are quick, man. Like we start, if we say 6:30, we tip at 6:32. The game will be over by 8:45. They're never more than like 2 hours, 15 minutes. They just build in quicker breaks. We have less media timeouts, less like corporate partnership responsibilities. And I think, again, like we are a testing ground for the league. Like they want to see if they can make the games quicker. We only shoot 1 free throw instead of 2 free throws until there's 2 minutes left in the first half, or at the end of the game, you do a true to form. But like you get fouled shooting a 3 in the first quarter with 3 minutes left on the clock, you get 1 shot for 3 points. So it does really speed up the game. Yeah, it's just a lot of fun, man. If you haven't been to a game, I would encourage you to go. I do think you will have a fun time and probably want to go back. And again, for like your audience, like it is a great way to see like the future. 50% of the guys in the G League will play in the NBA. I mean, that's 50% of the guys in the NBA right now have played in the G League at one point or another in their life. So it's just a good place to be able to watch basketball, super accommodating, easy, get some ham fruit, get some popcorn, and check us out.
Yeah, listen, if this is from our real heads, Friday, November 29th, 1 p.m. tip-off.
Yeah.
In
People will do it.
In at UP, 1 p.m. tip-off at UP. You go up to the Child Center, take your people, take your family, take your date, take your whoever you got with you. Go to the remix game. It'll be over at 3:30. Get a little snack. Get yourself hydrate. You can go to a Blazer game that night. You can go see the Blazers. You can go see the Blazers play the Kings that night. There is a chance to do your first true doubleheader of the season. That night will be a NBA Cup game in case you're really getting into it.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't even know that. That's awesome.
Yeah. Tuesdays and Fridays in November. Okay. Except this year it got pushed back because of Election Day. So, but
that's right.
But it's typically Tuesdays and Fridays in November. So you could double dip and you could go to 2 Portland professional basketball games in one day. I'll probably check out a couple remix games. I live close by. It's easy to get to, and they're and it's affordable and a whole bunch of fun. And you can see some NBA players, including some like very specifically some Blazers. Reggie, it is always a pleasure. Thanks so much for joining us.
No, Mike, thanks for having me on. This was awesome. I love catching up with you, aside from the remix stuff. But yeah, really appreciate the opportunity to come out and talk about the remix for sure.
Yeah, I'm glad we got to run into each other at the Blazers game this week both with 2-year-olds in tow. That's really
you saw me. Yeah.
That's how you got to do it. Attend a basketball game with 2-year-old in hand. That's how you know you're really committed to the hardwood, committed to the grind of hoops.
That's right.
Dear listeners, if you want to take your 2-year-old somewhere, go to a Remix game. They happen in the afternoon, and it's cheaper than a Blazer game. Come back for tomorrow's show. Blazers play Oklahoma City on Wednesday evening. I will recap that one for you on the program, and then Friday we'll look ahead with Jackson Gatlin of Locked on Rockets, and we'll talk all things Houston Blazers for 2 of them, Friday and Saturday. I appreciate you listening. Tell your friends about the program. I'll talk to you soon.